From giant minifigures hiding in plain sight, regular minifigures hiding as Easter eggs, and even tiny prints showing characters in minifigure form. LEGO's hidden tons of minifigs in their sets, and we're looking at 23 of them. Starting with a really weird one from 1994. In the Crocodile Cage set, the Islanders had a shrunken head mounted on a pole, except it was brick built instead of being an actual headpiece, since obviously that'd be pretty graphic for LEGO. However, it fits the theme's lore pretty well. Pirates were constantly shown trying to steal the Islanders' treasure. Some lore even suggests that the Islanders captured and imprisoned Captain Redbeard, so this head on a stick feels more like a warning than anything else. And it actually isn't the only set with something like this. The Enchanted Island set from the same year had another shrunken head hidden in a bush on top of a spear. But this set has more than just this. King Kahuka's face is printed on the shield and even the canoe's sails. Kahuka was the leader of the Islanders, although LEGO actually changed his name depending on your region. In the US, he was called King Kahuka, but in the UK, he was called Chief Quextil. Regardless, even when Kahuka's actual minifigure isn't standing there, his face is still hidden throughout the entire build. But LEGO doesn't always hide these characters in the background. Sometimes they're a part of the set itself. The 2020 pirate ship only comes with 3 actual pirate minifigures, but there's a 4th in the front of the ship. The figurehead is a mermaid with outstretched arms permanently attached to the bow. Also, this was a 3-in-1 set, and this is the only build that actually uses this mermaid. However, Queen Anne's Revenge took this idea further. The figurehead in the front is literally a full minifigure. LEGO used a skeleton minifig with an orange torso, which looks really weird, so it's hard to notice that it's even there. The real Queen Anne's Revenge had already gone through a transformation. It started as a French ship before Blackbeard captured it in 1717 and renamed it. The clever part is that there's nothing special about the figure itself. LEGO basically hides a normal minifigure in plain sight by changing its color and where it's placed so your brain reads it as part of the ship instead of another person. But one of the strangest hidden minifigures came from LEGO Star Wars. When Han Solo was frozen in carbonite, LEGO didn't make him a minifigure at all. In 2000, they just printed his face and body onto a flat brick and put it in 4 different sets over the course of 6 years. It wasn't until 2010 when LEGO finally made the proper molded carbonite piece we have now. Unlike the brick, this one is actually labeled as a minifigure, which is still pretty weird considering the back is completely hollow. But for an entire decade, one of the most famous versions of Han Solo was basically a picture on a block, which is pretty funny. But Han isn't even the only Star Wars character LEGO shrunk into something different. Emperor Palpatine in hologram form was just like Han, a print on a brick, except his was transparent blue, since he was supposed to be a hologram. After years of using this piece, LEGO finally made a special trans blue figure for him in 2014. But it was a nano figure. It's the size of one stud, and obviously is nothing like a normal minifigure. To this day, LEGO has never made a proper minifig for his hologram, and probably never will. But going back to Harry Potter, the Chamber of Secrets from 2021 hides one of the biggest characters in Hogwarts history in plain sight. Salazar Slytherin doesn't get a regular minifigure here. Instead, LEGO recreated the giant stone statue in the chamber using bricks, and even built a hidden tunnel through it so the basilisk can slide out of his mouth, just like it did in the movie. In the story, Salazar secretly created the chamber beneath Hogwarts and left the basilisk inside for his heir to control. It's very important for the lore, so LEGO went the extra mile with his statue. But Salazar actually appears in another set without getting a minifigure. For Harry Potter's 20th anniversary, LEGO made 16 collectible wizard cards based on the chocolate frog cards from the story, including Godric Gryffindor, Gilderoy Lockhart, and Salazar Slytherin. Each character was printed on a 2x2 tile and were randomly placed across the 6 anniversary sets. Collecting every character meant opening the sets and hoping you didn't have a duplicate.
I got about 6 of him.
LEGO liked the idea so much that they basically did the same thing again a few years later with collectible Hogwarts portraits. This meant entire named characters could be hidden in a set without being listed in the set's official minifigure list. And they actually did something very similar with One Piece. Every set in the first wave had at least one randomly picked wanted poster tile, with a total of 8 different characters to collect. The smallest set only had 1, while the Baratier set came with 5. This works perfectly for One Piece, because bounty posters are how the world keeps track of pirates as they get more infamous. So characters who weren't included as official minifigures could still show up somewhere in the set as posters in minifigure form. LEGO even kept the idea going in 2026, except the new wave swapped the wanted posters for Baroque Works dossier tiles instead. But some hidden minifigs were actually made for play features. The 2005 Graveyard Duel set has a grave with a skeleton buried underneath it, and turning a piece on the side lifts it up, while 2 plates covering the grave pop open. That's not all though. Another grave opens to reveal part of a skeleton minifig print, and there's even a skeleton chained to a tree. Weirdly, none of the extra rising skeletons are actually part of the Goblet of Fire scene LEGO was recreating, so they don't really have any reason to be here. But the Graveyard play feature was a hit, so LEGO brought it back in 2019, except this time the hidden minifig was Voldemort himself. In the Rise of the Voldemort set, pressing a small plate makes him shoot up from underneath the ground, while a hinge section closes behind him, recreating his return in the Goblet of Fire. The set even includes Voldemort's pre-resurrection body as a tiny baby minifig inside the cauldron, alongside a bone, Peter Pettigrew's hand, and Harry's blood. LEGO actually has us put him in the instructions, so technically this set hides 2 different variations of Voldemort in the same scene. But LEGO Indiana Jones had an even better hidden skeleton. In The Lost Tomb from 2008, Indy and Marion are surrounded by traps, and one of the statues can be knocked over to smash through a wall. When the panels fall away, an entire skeleton is revealed hanging on a chain behind it, which is a very clever play feature for a set so small. However, the Mystery Mansion set from 2015 hides an actual villain inside the set. The clock tower has a rotating wall with a bat on one side and a vampire on the other, so turning the knob makes the bat disappear and suddenly reveals him standing behind the wall. And this wasn't some random vampire either. His alternate face is Big Bob Oakley, the thief from the original Scooby-Doo series who disguised himself as different monsters while searching for treasure. LEGO basically turned this whole unmasking gimmick into one big reference. But the Scorpion Pyramid set from 2011 hides its pharaoh in a much more dramatic way. The burial chamber has a sarcophagus tucked behind a wall, and pulling a lever blows it open, so you can slide the coffin out and reveal the pharaoh inside. The whole pyramid is riddled with these booby traps too. There's a staircase hiding a scorpion, falling bricks, and a sliding door, so the pharaoh feels like the final trap at the end of the set, instead of him just standing out in the open. But the 2021 mini Disney castle hides 2 nano figures where you never see them. Inside the base is a tiny corridor with 2 black nanofigs, which are most likely Mickey and Minnie. What makes this even stranger is that the castle barely has an interior. You can find a small reference to the more popular Disney castle in the corridor, but once this build is actually finished, the whole section gets sealed underneath it. So these nanofigs obviously aren't meant for display. They're an Easter egg for whoever builds it, which is why people think they're supposed to be Minnie and Mickey. LEGO references popular characters in licensed sets all the time, like the NES set that hides Mario in 2 different ways. On the TV, he isn't a minifigure at all. LEGO made a brand new piece shaped like 8-bit Mario, mounted on a clear rod so he jumps up and down while the screen scrolls. However, there's a cooler Mario hidden inside the NES itself. One of the removable side panels reveals a tiny recreation of level 1-2, and Mario is represented with these red and brown studs stacked on top of each other. Getting back to actual minifigs though, King Kahuga actually shows up again, almost 30 years later in a completely different theme. In the Temple of the Golden Idol set from 2023, the walls around the dart traps are covered in carved masks, and one of them is directly based on Kahuga. That isn't all though. There's also a very silly minifigure sticking his tongue out for some reason. So LEGO hid 2 different minifigs here, including a reference to their own character, who has nothing to do with Indiana Jones. But this next one might be the most hidden minifigure in this video. The 2023 upscaled minifigure is a giant version of a classic LEGO minifig, but if you lift up its blue hat, there's a normal-sized minifig sitting inside, supposedly controlling the giant one like a mech. The thing is though, this is one of a kind. LEGO's made loads of other upscaled minifigs since this one, and not a single one of them hides a regular minifigure anywhere. Instead, they got related Easter eggs. The Octan Racer has an engine in his head, and the astronaut has some sort of droid. I wonder if Ash Ketchum will finally bring back the hidden minifigure Easter egg. Regardless, going back to Harry Potter, the Defense Against the Dark Arts class set hides the real Mad-Eye Moody exactly where he was trapped in the Goblet of Fire. Open the chest in the classroom and you'll find a Moody nano figure sitting inside. The chest is one of the best details in this set because it recreates the reveal that Barty Crouch Jr. imprisoned the real Moody all year. So it only makes sense that the actual Moody minifig has an alternate faceplate and hairpiece for Barty, since he was using Polyjuice Potion to impersonate him all year. But even a theme like LEGO Spider-Man has hidden minifigures. The Spider-Man vs. Oscorp set from 2025 hides Gwen somewhere you'd probably never look. The roof above Miles's apartment has a removable panel with enough space to lay Gwen's minifig inside, and once she's hidden in there, turning a Technic lever opens a trap door and drops her straight into Miles's room. This recreates the scene from Into the Spider-Verse, when Gwen suddenly drops down out of nowhere from his ceiling. So instead of just placing her in the room, LEGO actually built a hidden compartment above it, so she can appear the same way she does in the movie. However, small themes like The Legend of Zelda get cool play features like this too. Ganondorf in the Ocarina of Time set doesn't start the fight standing out in the open. LEGO hides his minifigure underneath the ruined castle, and pressing a plate at the back makes him rise straight up through the rubble. It recreates one of the final moments from Ocarina of Time, when Ganondorf looks defeated after the castle collapses, only to rise from the ruins and transform into Ganon. You might think LEGO reserves stuff like this for flagship sets, but that's not the case. The Rathtar Escape set from 2017 hides Han Solo underneath the floor of the ship. The corridor has a maintenance duct underneath it that's only tall enough for a minifigure to crawl through, and Han can sit on a tiny platform connected to a dial. Turn it and he rises straight through a hatch in the floor, like an elevator. It's way better than having to take the floor piece off to reveal him. This actually brings it to life. But when it comes to the new Winnie the Pooh sets, LEGO really puts in effort. Both the Winnie and Piglet sets come with a giant brick-built accessory, and they both have minifigure versions of themselves hiding inside. Pooh's even has Eeyore too. Piglet's birthday cake is recreating Pooh's house on one side and the woods on the other, and you can actually close this cake with Piglet inside. Pooh's set is the same too. His honeypot is recreating his house, and both minifigs can be stored inside, but Pooh himself actually has an extra Easter egg. The panel on his stomach can be removed to find what he loves most, his friends, in minifigure form. It's a very simple Easter egg, but one that was definitely needed for someone like Pooh. But which of these hidden minifigures surprised you the most? Be sure to let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe.